This is Ensign Alex Wong again with Captain Laney for part 2 of the attachment theory. So our last episode, Captain, we talked about how attachment is vital in the development of a child's early stages. How does attachment play into an adult?
Yeah, so I think that's one of the big advantages of attachment theory. So a good theory always gives us kind of a frame of analysis to understand something, right? And so what attachment theory does is it describes attachment styles that are present in adults and gives us an idea of how those attachment styles, where they come from, and the way they might manifest themselves. So in our last conversation, we were talking about the fact that through our experiences, we can learn that other people are trustworthy or not trustworthy, and we can learn perhaps that we're lovable or not lovable, right? And we talked about the fact that if your attachment needs are consistently met, then you are most likely going to learn that other people are trustworthy and that you're lovable. And so you see on the graph there that is our secure attachment. So secure people are probably believe the world is a relatively safe place. Other people are trustworthy and that they're lovable. So that all those are going to be beneficial to their relationships. It might make them a little bit too trusting. Yeah, go ahead.
Almost like a glass half full kind of guy.
Most likely, yeah. If they're going to interpret the experiences in life based on their previous experiences, then those are kind of the assumptions that they're going to make as they enter into new relationships. So the differences are the different types of insecurities that we can have. So looking at the graph, you can see that whenever there's a relationship, there's the old adage, when you're breaking up with somebody, it's not you, it's me. The reality is that in a relationship that there's you and there's me. And so if things go wrong, it could be you, it could be me, or it could be both, right? And that kind of governs the other attachment styles. So from the graph, if you believe that other people are trustworthy and that the reason that your relationships and your security needs are not being met is because you're not lovable, then that can generate what we would call an anxious, preoccupied attachment style. And so think about this a little bit. If you have that anxious, preoccupied attachment style, you assume that other people are trustworthy, but it's you. And so you kind of have this underlying fear that people are going to find out sooner or later that you don't deserve to be loved. And that makes you very, very anxious. And when we say anxious, that can generate some clingy behavior in people.
You may oftentimes check in on people. Is everything okay? And you always think, you got to do everything in your own power to make sure that you're doing everything to make the situation good.
Yeah, exactly. And think about how that probably plays out in a relationship. If someone's being particularly clingy and can't trust you to be out of their sight, that's usually not very beneficial to the relationship.
That may even translate in a work environment when you compulsively check your email to make sure everything is okay.
That, and I'll tell you what, as you get to the fleet, some of your most problematic sailors and Marines are actually going to be probably anxious, preoccupied. And at first you'll love them because they're the first people who are going to come to you and want your attention and tell you everything that's going on. And when you first get there and you don't know anybody and you feel a little bit insecure yourself, that can actually, feel good. But those people kind of become a problem because they won't stop talking to you and tell you every single thing that they do, right? And at some point, for a team to function, you need people to go do their part and trust other people to do theirs. So that's the one instance. If you believe that you might be the cause of disruptions in your attachment or relationships, the other would be if you believe that you are fundamentally lovable, but that other people are untrustworthy. And so the way that's probably going to manifest itself is that if other people aren't trustworthy, then in some ways, to heck with them, right? I'm going to go do it by myself. And I know that shouldn't have to work on a lot of projects together. You've probably felt like this at times where you can't trust everybody else on your team, and so you're just going to do the whole project yourself.
Like that saying, you can't, if you want something done, you can't trust anyone. You got to trust yourself.
Yeah, well, that's something that someone with a dismissive, avoidant attachment style would certainly say.
That other people aren't as smart as you, or not as capable.
Yeah, that's right. That can drive those kind of judgments about other people.
Mhm.
Here's the really sad thing about people who are dismissive avoidant. Deep down, they still deeply desire that attachment. And so even though they don't trust other people, it doesn't mean that they stop wanting it.
Mhm.
And this can also lead to self-fulfilling prophecies. If I think that you're not trustworthy and you show up late for a meeting, then you just confirm my mental model, right? In some ways, if that's my mental model, I'm waiting for you to confirm what I already believe about you. And as soon as I see it, I'm going to jump on it. And as soon as I make that judgment of you, you're not trustworthy, then I'm going to reject you and not even give you a chance. And so it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that you do have to depend on yourself because you don't have the ability to trust other people.
You're waiting for those cues and to basically you find examples that explain your theory
Exactly. Yeah. So we talk about like I'm sorry. Go ahead.
and avoid those that don't.
Right. And we talk about things like confirmation bias, right? These are the ways that mental models and confirmation bias play in with each other, that we're looking for information that's already consistent with the mental models that we have. Yeah, so the last one is our fearful avoidant. And that's when we've kind of absorbed both this feeling that we might not be worthy of other people's love, and that other people are not trustworthy. And that's it's a bit of a double whammy, right? And so all of these are going to take a little bit of work for us to be able to recognize in ourselves if these are the things that are driving our behavior, and actively thinking about and managing our behaviors. I mean, you might if you're anxious, preoccupied, you might have that urge to text every 10 minutes and say, are you thinking of me still? But if we can recognize that behavior is driven by an insecurity that probably comes from our childhood and might not have any relevance whatsoever in the relationship that I'm currently having, the hope is that we can temper our behavior in a way that is more conducive to our success. Yeah, so that fearful avoidant in many ways is just really a combination of both that anxious preoccupied and that dismissive avoidant. And so you might get a little bit of a seesaw there where people are like, I love you, I love you, I love you, leave me alone. So people, if you're in a relationship with somebody who's fearful avoidant, then you might feel a little bit of a whiplash.
So those kinds of people, they think it's the world is the problem, and as well as themselves. And so they don't even, they don't trust the system. They have this feeling of why even try.
Yeah, what you'll get out of that sometimes is a kind of passive fantasy that there'll be some Deus ex machina, or someone will ride in on a white horse and save me and make everything good. Because they don't trust enough to try to find that relationship in other people. So, yeah.
Are these people? Are they often overwhelmed, feel useless? They don't have the power to do anything.
I'm not sure about useless so much. They might feel helpless in their relationships.
Okay.
Like they like all of us, they would like to have high quality relationships, but they might not even believe that there's a possibility for a high quality relationship, or they might not believe that it's possible for them to be in a high quality relationship. Yeah, so that can be pretty problematic. And so we, part of the reading for this week is the New York Times piece that talks about each one of these different attachment styles and how they manifest themselves in the workplace. So I highly recommend. We have the survey on attachment, which hopefully give you some insights on your general attachment beliefs. And one thing I would say, Alex, is that you were saying that these kinds of people, and I don't think it's as cut and dry as that, right? That these are some underlying mental models that we have. System one will apply these mental models in the way that we interpret and respond to the world, but these things don't define us, and that's really the power in having the ability to learn to recognize how they might be manifesting ourselves, and try and find ways to intentionally engage with this. And I would also say this is, our NL1 instructors, 110 instructors are not clinical psychologists. And many people would, if you find yourself in a place where you recognize that some of this attachment behavior might be disruptive to your life, I really do recommend talking to a counselor about that. This is something that's exceptionally familiar to counselors. This is something that's disruptive in many, many people's lives. And so the good news about that is that there's a lot of kind of tried and true methods that help people kind of work through these issues in productive ways.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate your time and the knowledge. Join us again next time on an episode for NL 110.
Thank you, Alex.